because I knew once I graduate, I'm not really gonna be immediately hireable. It's just not the case, especially in such a complex field like UX. Questions I often get is about the choices in learning about UX. And it's always something like, is this bootcamp good enough? Is this course worth it? Do you need that degree to become a UX designer? All of these questions can be summarized with a simple, is this gonna get me into UX? Is this gonna get me a job? And to be entirely honest and frank, the short answer to all of them is a no. And if you remember from one of my videos about the skills, the evidence, and the potential, a lot of it is going to come down to potential, especially when you're starting out and you're taking all those bootcamps, courses, reading books, trying to find a mentor of the things you do, of the ways you think, and having a resume which just states that you took this bootcamp or you took these courses and you spent last 6 months learning about it is not good enough to inform that potential. Myself as a hiring manager, let's say, when I check a resume and it's full of all these different things, but the portfolio which a company said has just one case and it like very weak at that, I would never consider that candidate. And you know why? Because the potential is not there. It's just learning. It's all kind of like the, divergence of different insights and ideas and information, but how you converge it and actually put into practice to solve actual real world problems which businesses and users face, it's up to you. You still need to do that heavy lifting and heavy work and jump into it and actually start applying. And this is what people tend to think, that, hey, I'm just gonna opt in into this bootcamp for the next month, let's say, or I'm gonna join and do this degree for 4 years and then I'm gonna come out and I'm ready for a workforce. That's not the case unless... And this is where I need to pause myself, I think, because I kind of went on a rant here, but I think I need to unpack this and kind of explain exactly where I'm coming from. Alright, so let's do a simple exercise here. Let's talk about pros and cons of, let's say, getting a degree versus not getting a degree and just doing your own research, your own learning through practicing, through the hard trials and errors, which might end up in exactly the same space in the end or might just actually be even better. And just to preface and to be very frank and honest, I have 2 degrees, one in web development, one in multimedia design and communication, which both had very heavy focus on UX and a lot of modules around that. So the pros of it is really simple. It's a network, it's the people you meet, because people I met in my studies are still my acquaintances to this day. There's still someone I connect with on LinkedIn, on Twitter, I see them on Spotify listening to music and just reach out to them. We still are in the industry. Some of them are working for big clients, some of them changed the actual career altogether and are actually not doing any digital. Some of them are UX designers, some web developers. There's a lot of different mismatch, but you create this community which is kind of like immediately interlinked, which you can connect later on. So you get friends, you get study mates. The group projects you're gonna do is actually with those people doing your degrees or your bootcamps or your courses to actually interact with people and just get it done. Network is very, very big part of it, which is super important for your career growth in the long run, maybe not so much in the immediate returns. Another pro is the structure, because you all have like a curriculum, you know exactly why you're there for, you know exactly what you're gonna get out of, what modules you're gonna take. You can talk to people who took it before, so you know exactly what sort of expectations you can build. You can see and just Google or like search on LinkedIn and see exactly who got what job after they completed that bootcamp or course or let's say a degree in uni. The next one is really about just a mark in your resume. If it's totally blank, it's always good to have something in your resume, unless you have some, you can still add projects, you can still add companies you support. If you're freelance, you can do a lot of different things, but if you don't have anything, education mark could be that. And also it depends what school you go for. There are some prestigious names and some people were gonna care about it, most are probably not so much. And the last one is exposure to real people who can help you out. Professors, like I met so many grand professors who who've been there, who done it. They've been designers and developers and experts in business and product strategy, managers. So you immediately get a mentor who knows what you have to go through and what skills you need to know, and they can give you very constructive feedback. They also can spend extra time because they're passionate about things you are passionate about. You might be paying more for mentorship advice rather than actual, curriculum and kind of like the study notes or whatever learning material you're gonna get out of it. And that could be invaluable. Now, with the cons, you have the price, you have the time, you have that structure. If you don't practice what you learn, which is very common in studies and boot camps and courses, or practicing only on the surface level, it's not gonna get you anywhere. So your portfolio might be very bare if you only learn and you only do the minimum. I don't have to tell you that, but a lot of people are gonna consider that if I just take a degree, I'm gonna be ready for the job market. And reality is no degree, no boot camp, no course is gonna make you ready for the job market. If you don't spend extra time to actually become ready, practice it further, hinder you because you're gonna know of the UX, but you're not so much gonna be able to do that on your own independently or in the commercial settings. And that's the biggest issue of it all. It's all about the applications. It's all about the skills you get and the deep skills you get. Just learn from books, read articles, immediately apply, and you're gonna end up probably in a better place than just learning but not practicing or not actually collecting the evidence and doing that extra hard work. And then I'm gonna come out and I'm ready for a workforce. That's not the case unless you invest your free time to actually come up with case studies, to actually practice it, to actually collect the evidence needed to boost that potential. So once your resume, which is, flashing now with that great name you have of a bootcamp or of a course, all that kind of jazz and that backing, that proof of the learning comes with the actual portfolio, which has depth to it, which has enough research to it, which is presentable enough and showcases your actual skills. That's where you would arrive at the perfect place where you are actually hirable. And it really depends where you're at in your life, of course. Who am I to tell you what you should do? Don't listen to my advice. This is just my thoughts as a hiring manager who's seen so many applicants who, let's say, went somewhere, they learned something, but they can't really action any of it, and then they become unhirable. Chances are, if you're gonna study and study hard, you're gonna have to add a layer of the actioning of those bits, and a big one. For example, myself, back in the day, over a decade ago, when I was just studying, I was actually spending up to 20 hours just to practice, just to freelance, just to apply, just to find clients, just to actually do my own side projects, because I knew once I graduate, I'm not really gonna be immediately hirable. It's just not the case, especially in such a complex field like UX. You need to hustle, you need to put in so much more and extra time into it. It's not just about reading a book or taking a boot camp or, joining a university and calling it a day and thinking that you're gonna be worth it for work. That's just not gonna happen. Majority of the hiring managers are gonna ignore your education altogether. It's all gonna be about your portfolio, the evidence, what you actually can demonstrate, what you can actually show instead of telling. In actual commercial settings, when you're gonna face challenges, when you're gonna face different and difficult personalities and some people who might not believe in you, it's not like you're gonna pull out and say, oh, I graduated at this UX bootcamp, or I got this degree at the UX, that's why you should listen to me. That's just not gonna work. What's gonna work is actually if you've been there, done that, you know how to handle those situations, and if you know what you're doing, because it's gonna come out in your communication, in the artifacts you produce, in the way you actually initiate things, in the way you challenge things. None of it is actually gonna be supported by your degree, and it shouldn't, because why would it? If you join a workforce, an actual workforce, nobody's gonna go there and say, oh, I'm master's at that, or I have a PhD at that, or I'm that much of a scholar. Nobody's gonna really care about it, because it's gonna come down to who's the most effective, who's been there, who's done it, who can actually work with other people, and who can demonstrate the skills, but not so much just a paper sheet saying that, hey, I graduated. That's just not enough. It's as simple as that.